today is Niagara West MPP Sam Oosterhoff. Sam is also the parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Education, Stephen Lecce. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Mike.
Sam, let's begin by talking about education. A big day today for students across the province as online continuation of learning begins. How did the Minister of Education and your ministry come to the decision that this is the day that things start and we move on this way?
Well, as you know, the COVID-19 situation has had an impact on governments and schools and education across the globe, not just here in Ontario, but across Canada, North America, and the globe. We saw very quickly that it was important to ensure there was continuity of learning so students wouldn't have learning loss, or that we could just try to stop as much of the learning loss as possible, given that children were not going to be in school for some period of time. And of course, we had no idea really when it started how long this could take, but we knew it was important to keep our children safe. And we know that it's important that they also maintain learning, and especially being able to learn at home and the safety of their homes is an important piece to making sure that they don't have that learning loss. So we've worked with our partners in school boards, with teachers, with education experts across the province to make sure that we have our world-class curriculum being delivered.
School boards and teachers especially were busy last week contacting students, contacting parents, trying to make sure that all of them had access to the technology. Were you surprised that there were so many youngsters who did not have good access to technology to move forward with this?
Of course, we want to make sure that everyone does have access, and the Minister of Education has spoken about it a bit, about our work with private sector investments as well, to make sure that we are bringing these technologies to every single student absolutely possible, and we are going to make sure that we continue to do that. But I've just got to say, Mike, the work that our frontline education workers, from EAs to teachers to support staff, has just been nothing short of outstanding. We know they've worked around the clock to make this happen, but we're committed to making sure every single child in the province, if it's at all possible, and of course these are less than ideal situations, as you know, but we want to make sure they have access to the education they deserve. So the minister, whether it's having school bus drivers drop off physical materials if they really can't access digital services, but trying to make sure, of course, that students have that access to digital services where possible. It's a priority of myself and the ministry.
Dr. Peter Donnelly from Public Health Ontario releasing some projections, and some likely projections, and also some projections that could have happened without some fast attention to the COVID-19 crisis. A lot of people were really, I don't want to say upset, but really shocked to hear 18 months to 2 years as a timeline for this to all come under control. So what does that mean as far as getting things back to normal?
So I don't want to speculate. I think it's important that we listen to our experts, our medical experts, those in Public Health Ontario and others, frontline staff who have been doing absolutely fantastic work. This is a really unprecedented time for governments across the world. We don't have all the answers. We are working very, very diligently and very hard to make sure that we come up with answers that are best for protecting the health and well-being of Ontarians, and protecting the economy and their jobs as well. And we recognize these are very, very important things for everybody, and the Premier's spoken about this. I think one of the key pieces coming out of that data was, like you said, the cost of not doing anything. And if we had kept business as normal, there was upwards of 100,000 Ontarians who would have lost their lives. Those numbers have dropped significantly. We're in that 3,000 to 15,000 people range, which is every death is a tragedy, and I don't want to belittle any single loss because of this terrible pandemic. But in comparison with some of those numbers, is a place that is significantly lower when it comes to tragedy. So we want to make sure that we keep those numbers as low as possible, but also that we support people in this difficult time, and that's why we brought forward a lot of supports also in our fiscal update last week.
Talking about supports, you have increased mental health supports from a provincial level. Is that true?
Yes. Just last week was a $17 million announcement in mental health supports, which is just a small part of the package that we rolled out to provide supports to families, especially $3.3 billion for healthcare, increasing capacity to our front lines, purchasing protective equipment, ventilators, beds, opening up new space, really needing to make sure that we have that capacity to prevent a tragic surge, but also recognizing this is a very difficult time for a lot of families. And so providing fiscal supports as well, and reducing, of course, hydro rates by going to a time of use, and some of these other ways that we can try and make life a little bit easier in a very challenging time for a lot of families.
May 4th is the target date, and school boards rolled that out as, the potential date to be back in the classroom. In your opinion, do you think that is a possibility?
Well, thankfully, it's not up to me. It's the conversations are with the Chief Medical Officer of Health and with many of the healthcare experts who are working on this. And we're going to take very, very seriously their advice. And if that means school has to stay out longer, if they see that fit, then we will do so, because our first priority is protecting the health and well-being of children in the province. And we are committed to doing that, but also want to provide as much educational supports as we possibly can while they're at home in these challenging times.
Thank you very much. Niagara West MPP Sam Oosterhoff joining us today on The Source. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Mike.
Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.